Welcome back, everyone, to the deep dive. We are diving deep today into student loan debt relief here in the U.S. Big topic. It is a big topic, especially because there's been a lot of changes recently, and a lot of people are feeling really lost. Yeah, with that huge plan falling apart. Exactly, the Biden administration's wide-scale forgiveness plan that kind of went kaput. Right, and everyone was so excited about that. I know a lot of people were really counting on it, so I imagine there are a lot of people feeling pretty bummed out right now, for sure. But the good news is it's not all doom and gloom. Okay, so there's still hope. Definitely, yeah. There are still options out there, maybe even better options for some people. That's what we're here to find out. Yeah. So let's start with the basics. Blanket forgiveness is off the table for now. What exactly happened? Well, basically, the plan ran into a ton of legal and political obstacles. Like, what kind of obstacles? Well, there were lawsuits filed by some states arguing that the president didn't have the authority to just cancel all that debt. Makes sense. And of course, politics played a role too. Always does. It was a big campaign promise, but it faced a lot of opposition in Congress. So ultimately, it just couldn't get through. Exactly. It got tied up in the courts, and politically, it just wasn't feasible. Okay, so that's a bummer for a lot of people. But what are their options now? What's still on the table? Well, this is where things actually get interesting, because there are a lot of other programs out there that people might not even know about. More targeted programs. Exactly. Instead of one big solution, there are all these smaller, more specific programs that could be a better fit for your individual situation. That makes sense. So where do we start? Well, one of the most powerful tools available are these things called income-driven repayment plans, or IDRs. IDRs. Okay, I've heard of those, but I'm not really sure how they work. They're pretty cool, actually. Basically, your monthly payments are adjusted based on your income and family size. So if you're making less money, you'll have a smaller payment. Exactly. And the best part, after a certain period of time, usually between 20 and 25 years, the remaining balance of your loan is forgiven. Wait a minute. So even without the big Biden plan, loan forgiveness is still a possibility. Absolutely. It might take a bit longer, but it's definitely still an option. That's a game changer for a lot of people. Yeah. So tell me more about these IDR plans. Well, there are a few different types, each with its own pros and cons. But one that you'll definitely want to check out is called the Pay As You Earn plan, or PAYE. For short, PAYE. Okay, I'm taking it. With PAYE, your monthly payments are capped at 10% of your discretionary income. Discretionary income. Now that's a term I haven't heard in a while. Remind me what that means. It's basically the amount of money you have left over after paying for essential expenses like housing, food, transportation, that kind of thing. So it takes into account your actual living costs. Exactly. So your loan payments are never more than you can realistically afford. And you said that after 20 years of making those payments, the rest of the loan is forgiven. Yep, that's right. So even if you have a lot of debt, it's not this insurmountable mountain, it's manageable, and there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Okay, 20 years is still a long time, but knowing that forgiveness is possible has got to be a huge weight off people's shoulders. Definitely. And the other great thing about PayAway is that there are income exemptions. What do you mean by that? So if your income falls below a certain level, you might not even have to make any payments at all. Really? No payments. Yep, it's true. If you're single and your income is below $22,590, or if you're a family of 4 and your income is below $46,800, you wouldn't have to make any monthly payments on your loans. Wow. Okay. Now that's what I'm talking about. That could really make a huge difference for people who are struggling to make ends meet. Absolutely. It's a safety net that's designed to prevent people from falling deeper into debt. So how do people figure out what their payments would be under PayY or any of these other IDR plans? There are actually some really helpful online tools out there that can help you estimate your monthly payments based on your specific situation. Perfect. We'll make sure to link to those in the show notes so people can go and check it out for themselves. But I'm guessing that IDRs aren't the only option, right? You got it. There are a bunch of other federal programs out there that offer loan forgiveness. Like what? Well, one of the big ones is Public Service Loan Forgiveness, or PSLF. I've definitely heard of that one. Who's that for? It's designed for people who work in public service jobs. Yeah. So things like nonprofits, government agencies, schools, that kind of thing. So if you're working for the greater good, you get a little extra help. Exactly. With PSLF, if you make 10 years of on-time payments while working in an eligible public service job, the entire remaining balance of your federal student loans is forgiven. 10 years. Okay, that's even shorter than some of the IDR plans. Yep. And for people who are passionate about public service, it's a fantastic opportunity. Totally. Are there any other federal programs that we should know about? Yeah, there's also the Teacher Loan Forgiveness Program, or TLF. Okay, so that one's specifically for teachers. Yep. If you teach full-time for 5 consecutive years in a low-income school or educational service agency, you can qualify for up to $17,500 in loan forgiveness. Wow, that's amazing. It's great to see programs that are specifically designed to help people who are giving back to their communities. I agree. Those are just a few examples of the federal programs that are out there. So if someone wants to learn more about these federal options, where should they go? The best place to start is studentaid.gov. Studentaid.gov. Okay, it's the official website for federal student aid, and it has tons of information about all these programs, eligibility requirements, how to apply, everything you need to know. Perfect bookmarking that one. But you mentioned earlier that there are also state-specific programs, right? Oh yeah, don't forget about those. Those seem like they could be a real game changer for people. They absolutely can be. Yeah, a lot of states have their own initiatives that are often tailored to specific professions, or even just to people who are facing certain financial challenges. So it's not just one size fits all. Not at all. It's really about finding the programs that are the best fit for your individual situation. I like that. So how do people find out about these state-specific programs? There's a really great resource from the Institute of Student Loan Advisors. They have a database on their website where you can search for programs by state. Oh, that's handy. So many options out there. It's like a choose-your-own-adventure for student loan relief. I like that analogy. So do you have any examples of some of these state programs that really stand out? Absolutely. One that comes to mind is California's program for licensed mental health professionals. So they offer up to $15,000 in loan assistance for professionals who work in certain facilities. Wow, $15,000, that's not bad at all. Nope, it's a great incentive for people to go into a field that's in high demand. Totally. What about other states? Any other cool examples? Maine has an incredible program for dentists. They offer $100,000 in loan repayment assistance. Wait, $100,000. Yep, you heard that right. $100,000. It's for dentists who choose to serve in underserved areas of the state. Okay, that's life-changing money for someone with dental school debt. It really is. It's a great example of how states are using these programs to attract professionals to areas where they're really needed. Smart strategy. They get the professionals they need, and the professionals get some serious financial relief. Win-win. Exactly. But not everyone's a dentist or a therapist. Are there state programs out there that aren't tied to specific jobs? Definitely. Some states offer forgiveness based on your financial situation rather than your occupation. Okay, tell me more. New York has a program called Get on Your Feet, which is pretty cool. What's that about? So for eligible residents with an adjusted gross income under $50,000 a year, this program can forgive up to 24 months of payments on their income-driven repayment plan. Hold on, 2 years of payments just gone. Yep, just like that. Poof. Wow. I'm starting to think I need to move to New York. But seriously, this is incredible information. It seems like there's a path for almost anyone to find some relief. That's the great thing about all these different options. There's no one-size-fits-all solution. It's all about finding the programs and strategies that work best for you. So much good stuff here. But unfortunately, we're out of time for this part of our deep dive. But don't worry, we'll be back with part 2, where we'll dive even deeper into these programs and talk about some of the potential downsides. Yeah, because let's be real. There's always fine print, right? Always. It's important to understand the details and make sure you actually qualify for these programs. Right, because it's not as simple as just saying, oh, I work in a nonprofit, I automatically qualify for PSLF. Exactly, there are a lot of nuances and eligibility requirements. So what are some of the things that people should watch out for? Like, what makes some of these programs tricky to navigate? Well, with PSLF, for example, one of the biggest hurdles is that it only applies to direct loans. Direct loans. Okay, not all federal loans are eligible. Oh, so you could be working in public service thinking you're on track for forgiveness and then find out your loans don't even qualify. Yeah, exactly. That's happened to a lot of people. Yikes. So what other kinds of loans are there? There are things like FFEL loans and Perkins loans, which are older types of federal loans that aren't eligible for PSLF. Got it. So step 1, make sure you have the right kind of loan. Exactly. Then there's the issue of qualifying employment, meaning you have to work for a specific type of organization. Right. It's not just any nonprofit or government agency that qualifies. So there's some fine print there too. Definitely. You have to make sure your employer actually meets the criteria for PSLF. Okay, so that's something else to watch out for. What else? Well, even if you have the right kind of loan and you're working for a qualifying employer, you have to make sure you're doing everything correctly along the way. Like what? Well, you have to be enrolled in an eligible repayment plan, and you have to make 120 qualifying payments. So 10 years of payments. Exactly. And you have to submit your employment certification every year to make sure you're still on track. Oh, wow. So there's a lot of paperwork involved. There can be. It's definitely not something you want to just set and forget. So basically, stay organized and read the fine print. Exactly. That's the best advice I can give. Okay, good advice. Yeah. But what if someone's feeling totally overwhelmed by all this? Where can they go for help? Talking to a qualified financial advisor or a student loan counselor is always a good idea. That makes sense, yeah. Sometimes it helps to have an expert in your corner. Absolutely. They can help you understand your options, make sure you're on the right track, and even help you with all that paperwork. Perfect. So we've been talking a lot about the specifics of these programs, but I want to take a step back for a minute and talk about the bigger picture. Why is student loan debt such a big deal in the first place? That's a great question. It's something that's been building up for decades in the U.S., and it's having a huge impact on the economy. It definitely feels like it's become a bigger problem over the years. It has. In the past, college was much more affordable, so people didn't have to take out as many loans. And even if they did, the interest rates were lower, so it was easier to pay them back. So what changed? Well, a lot of things. The cost of college has skyrocketed while wages have stagnated. So more and more people are having to take out loans to pay for their education, and those loans are getting bigger and bigger. It's like this vicious cycle. It is, and it's not just impacting individuals, it's impacting the whole economy. How so? Well, when people are saddled with huge amounts of debt, they're not able to spend money on other things. Right. They're not buying homes, starting families, investing in the economy. Exactly. And that has a ripple effect throughout the entire system. So you're saying that getting some of this debt forgiven could actually help boost the economy? It could definitely have a positive impact. It would free up money for people to spend and invest, which would stimulate economic growth. Makes sense. And it's not just about the money either, right? No, there's a huge mental and emotional toll that comes with being in debt. It can be incredibly stressful and overwhelming. Absolutely. And it can feel like there's no way out. That's why it's so important to understand your options and to know that there is hope. Totally. Yeah. Even if it takes time, knowing that there's a path to get out of debt can make a huge difference. I agree. It's about taking control of your finances and making smart choices. Well said. We're almost out of time for this part of our deep dive, but I want to leave our listeners with a final thought. Now that we've explored all these different options, it can feel kind of overwhelming, right? Like, where do you even start? Yeah, it's a lot to take in. It is. Yeah. So what's the next step? How do we actually start creating a plan to tackle this debt? It's kind of like when you have a toolbox full of tools, okay? You wouldn't just grab a random tool and start working on something. Yeah. You'd first figure out, what am I trying to fix? What's the problem? And then you'd pick the right tool for the job. I like that analogy. Yeah. So how do we go about building our student loan toolbox? Well, the first step is to gather information. What kinds of loans do you have? How much do you owe? What's your income? What are your financial goals? Okay, so it's really about getting a clear picture of your own individual situation. Exactly. Once you have all those pieces of the puzzle, then you can start looking at the different options we talked about and see which ones make the most sense for you. Makes sense. And if you're feeling lost, there's no shame in asking for help, right? Absolutely. A financial advisor or a student loan counselor can be a huge resource. They can help you sort through all the information and create a personalized plan. Totally. And sometimes even just talking to a friend or family member who's been through this process can be helpful. Definitely. Just having someone to bounce ideas off of and to, help you process all this stuff can make a big difference. So the key takeaway here is to take action. Right. Exactly. Don't just let yourself get overwhelmed and do nothing. Even small steps can make a big difference over time. Love that. So to wrap things up, I want to give our listeners a challenge. What do you think? Hit me with it? Okay, here it is. I challenge each and every one of you listening to pick one program or strategy that we talked about today and do more research on it. Go to studentaid.gov, check out the Institute of Student Loan Advisors website, or even just Google your state student loan forgiveness and see what comes up. I love it. You might just discover the perfect program you never even knew existed. That's what we're hoping for. No, we want you to feel empowered to take control of your finances and to find the resources that will help you reach your goals. And remember, you don't have to figure this out alone. There are people out there who can help, and there's a whole community of people who've been in your shoes and come out the other side. Couldn't have said it better myself. Okay. So until next time, keep diving deep, keep asking questions, and keep believing in a brighter future. Thanks for joining us on the